Well, good morning everybody. This is going to be a much different video than I traditionally do, and I am just going to work my way through it, and I hope that this does serve you well. So, what we're going to be discussing today are the best ships that I feel that match with running your refined Quantanium for the most part. I mean, on any refined material, but specifically, we mine a lot of Quantanium right now in the Stanton system, and these are going to be the ships that you either can rent or buy. I'm going to give you kind of some thoughts on each one of them, and I will also just kind of give you at the end of it what I do think is my favorite cargo hauler, and that's not going to come as a surprise to a lot of you who watch the stream. So the first ship I want to talk about, of course, is the Cutlass Black. Now, the Cutlass Black is an excellent ship for a couple of reasons. First of all, it only does a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning, you can only haul 32 SCU of Quantanium in with the Prospector. And the Cutlass Black has 46 SCU. So it's only, if you had two even remotely full runs, like a 1.5 style run of Quantanium that you'd brought in with the Prospector, it won't fit in the Cutlass Black. But there are some advantages to the Cutlass Black. Number one, it does have the size 2 quantum drive, so you can actually fit this guy with an XL1. Now this isn't the rented one. If you happen to own this one, if you rent this one, then you're probably just doing that because you need to just kind of run something 1-to-1. So anyways, yeah, this has a size 2 quantum drive, which really does, the XL1 makes it. It also is one of those ships where it's kind of not worth pirating. If for some reason you see a Cutlass Black cruising through the verse, the last thing you're thinking is, hey, this thing's, it's got a belly full of Quantanium. Even though that belly full of Quantanium that it can haul is worth well over $250,000 AUEC. So, a couple of thoughts about the Cutlass Black. It does insulate you from a massive loss if on a specific run you did have some kind of a problem and the 30K protection didn't work. Number two, it flies under the radar as a hauler. I mean, it's just one of those things, right? Yes, it's a lot of work. But it's also one of those things where I actually could see us in the future maybe using these smaller ships like a Cutlass Black to haul things, because if you're flying something bigger like a Cat or a C2, or even some of the more less defendable like cargo ships like a Hull A, or a Freelancer Max, exactly, or something along those lines, they may be picked on a little more than, say, something like a Cutlass Black. So, that's my thoughts on the Cutlass Black. First of all, I think it's a very versatile ship. It's a great rock hauler as well. It's rentable, and the renting cost is not tremendous, even over a 3-day period. A 1-day period, though, is $27,000, and of course, every time you haul in, a decent load of Quantanium or something along those lines, it's we'll pay for that and then some. So, moving on. So the next ship that we have on the list, and I'm actually going up by SCU, right? So the next ship on the list is going to be your Hull A. Now, this is going to be a very straightforward hauling ship. It doesn't have a lot of frills, not a lot of bells or whistles. It's not for rent yet, but it is a 64 SCU, so a full 2-to-1 ratio for hauling, and so that's a good thing, right? So it doesn't matter even if you get 2 unicorn runs with the Prospector, you are going to be able to use the Hull A in order to haul 2 runs for every 1 load. So, not like the Cutlass Black, like we just mentioned. This is one that would be, I wouldn't use the word maybe picked on, but, as a pirate, I'm looking at a Hull A, or I'm looking at a Freelancer Max, a little differently than I'm going to say look at an Andromeda or something like that, or along those lines. So anyways, yeah, this is, no frills, a fairly straightforward 2-to-1 cargo hauler. Certainly nothing you're going to fight with. A great little ship nonetheless. And who knows, is the one thing the last X factor I'll throw in there is with physicalized cargo coming, certainly the external cargo versus the internal cargo, it may be a boon at some point down the road. So moving on, the next ship on the list would be the Freelancer. Freelancer, of course, is a great ship. 66 SCU, so another 2-to-1 ratio. It kind of speaks for itself. in that capacity. One thing that I do like about it is it does have the size 2 quantum drive, and that's interesting to me. You know, that does change things a little bit there. Of course, you know, it doesn't have a whole lot of, you know, fighting capacity, but it's not, you know, it's not terrible. I mean, you know, it certainly is going to be a lot better than the Hull A. And so, you know, Freelancer's not I use the heck out of the Freelancer Max. The Freelancer's not a ship that I used a ton of. You know, I kind of stepped up to the next higher one, but not a bad ship at all. And certainly would be one that you'd consider if you were kind of doing, you know, Quantanium running, that type of thing. So the next step up from here, I believe, is going to be the Raft. I like this ship a lot, even though, you know, once again, like the Raft and the Hull A, those kind of fall into that category, like I said, where if I'm a pirate and I'm approaching those ships, I definitely am not concerned about their firepower or anything, you know, in that capacity. Now, a couple of things. It does have, this thing has enormous gas tanks, and it also does 96 SCU. So this is a 3-to-1. This is a nice 3-to-1 for sure. And so, yeah, you definitely have big quantum fuel tanks. You do have your size 2 quantum drive. Let me double check back at the Freelancer. Did I mess that up when I was looking at it? Oh, no, it was a size 2 quantum drive. I just was curious about that. So, yeah, you know, the Raft it's a cool looking ship. Once again, we're talking about if that external cargo versus internal cargo is one of those things that makes the cargo hauling more efficient. It may be something to consider as well. But the first, you know, so obviously, you know, just kind of buzzing back through these real quickly, you have your kind of your 1-to-1, your 2-to-1s, and the Raft is your first 3-to-1. You can haul 3 loads of Quantanium, or 3 32 SCU runs, or one, you know, quite honestly, the first one that really does give you the capacity to haul if you go out with a mole. Now, I know the moles aren't working right now. I'm sure they're going to get those fixed. But moles do 96 SCU. So this is your first 1-to-1 with a mole, you know, or a 3-to-1 with a prospector. So something to consider there. So the next ship up, I think, is a really good one. It's a really excellent choice, 96 SCU. But the main reason is because this thing's a gunboat. You know, this isn't, you know, Andromedas are not to be toyed with. They have a lot of firepower. They have 2 size 5, 2 size 4s, just a boatload of missiles. You know, they also do have, you know, some good shields as well. They have, you know, of course, you do have the big, little bit bigger quantum drives as well. So you really are looking at a ship that's it's kind of bristling with firepower. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's not like it's super crazy, but you know, of course, you do have, you know, big shield generators, and a lot of firepower, and your 96 SCU, same as a Raft. I mean, I'm approaching a Constellation Andromeda far differently than I'm approaching a Raft. Of course, these, you know, the Hull A and the Raft, like I said, they have this external cargo model. Of course, this internal cargo model, it may be a little slower, but it is something to consider. So, anyways, 96 SCU, all of the Connies kind of fall into this. I picked the Andromeda specifically because it is kind of the gunboat of the bunch. You know, and of course, the Taurus is a little further up the chain. So, the next ship up is going to be the Mercury Star Runner. Very, very good ship. Another ship that, you know, when I see a Star Runner going by, the last thing I'm thinking to myself is that's got 114 SCU of refined Quantanium on board. So it's another one of those ships where, you know, it's got a lot of top speed. It just kind of flies under the radar as your thought of your traditional, you know, like refined cargo hauler, you know. So yeah, definitely something to think about there. Of course, once again, you get your size 2 drive. You know, and so that, you know, the XL ones obviously are going to be preferred for speed and that type of thing. But I will say this is an excellent choice to haul refined Quantanium for the most part. Like I said, because it's just kind of like the Cutlass Black, it just kind of flies under the radar as that's what you're up to. And the Andromeda does it in a different way because it's, you know, a little more of a gunboat. But this one here, you know, like I said, every time a Star Runner flies past me, the last thing I'm thinking is, boy, there's that 114 SCU of cargo in that thing I want. So that's not to say that other people won't have differences of opinions on that, but, you know, that's where I sit with it. So moving on to one of my favorite haulers. I know that this guy is not a perfect solution, but I flew this thing for months as my hauler, and that's a Freelancer Max. And once again, both the Mercury Starrunner and the Max are a 3-to-1 ratio. Even though the Max does do 120 SCU, it doesn't quite get to the 4-to-1 ratio. It is like a 3.75, so you could have like 3 full loads and then kind of a one that wasn't so great. It would fit in there. Same thing with the Starrunner, but obviously a little more wiggle room, 6 more SCU in the Freelancer Max. Now the Freelancer, that's the thing. Like if you think about the Starrunner versus the Max, once again from a pirate standpoint, I'm approaching the Freelancer Max in a completely different way. I'm thinking to myself, there's pay dirt there. The Mercury Starrunner maybe not so much, but some of those things will. It's not to say that this thing doesn't have teeth. It does, but it's just something I think there's like it's optics. Something that kind of comes to mind or whatever. So once again, you do have a pretty good quantum fuel drive with the size 2, but and the creamsicle is just, it really is one of my favorite haulers. I'm never going to say anything bad about it. I love the Freelancer Max. And it's a sneaky good rock hauler as well. I should mention, all of it, like this ship here, the Andromeda, the Mercury Starrunner, and the Freelancer, they're excellent rock haulers as well. The Freelancer Max in particular has got a nice wide back. The Starrunner easily hauls ROCs. And of course, the Andromeda, can haul ROCs too with the cargo lift there. So moving on from we've kind of, you started out here at 46 SCU, and then you bounced over to 64 SCU, and you bounced up to 66, and then you kind of got into the 96. 96 SCU ships, and then the Starrunner kind of breaks the meta at 114, and the Freelancer Max goes to 120, and really from there there's a really nice jump up to the Constellation Taurus. And so Constellation Taurus is my current favorite cargo hauler. The TLDR, I'm not going to pivot back at the end, I'm just going to tell you right up front. 174 SCU. I love this ship. It also has, it's kind of some of the same things that the Andromeda offers. 2 size 5s, 2 size 4s. If you kit it just right, it does have a big shield generator. It does have the size 2 quantum drive. It is hauling 174 SCU, and 174 SCU is a 5-to-1 ratio. So, a 5 prospector loads are going into this Taurus. Now, there's a nice balance about that, right? You're making an awful lot of money if you're hauling it in anywhere near, north of 150 SCU of refined Quantanium, but you're also not crying in your beer if for some reason you have a situation where you crash, or if you're in a C2 or a CAT or an M2 and you have 500 SCU plus of Quantanium on board and you go down, and you can't recover it. It's a horrible feeling. So I think the Constellation Taurus really is kind of the best balance between firepower, hauling capacity. When I see a Constellation Taurus, I don't think, hey, there's dinner. It's not as easy of a target as some of the previous ships, and it's in a really good place right now. So I will have kind of an honorable mention here for a second, and that's the Raylan. That's going to be 320 SCU, and that's a ship that's may replace the Constellation Taurus in my mind at some point, but we'll have to see. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Raylan. It's got, it's got to come out, and we have to see what's happening. So moving on in my list, though, the next ship, sneaky ship, honestly, would be the A2 Hercules. It is another one of those ships. It's a 6-to-1 ratio. Don't sleep on this ship. It is bristling with turrets. I mean, if you wanted to kind of have a few buddies jump in there with you, you could be somewhat well defended. It's not the first thing that you think of as well. So when I see an A2 flying around, it's another one of those things. I don't think to myself, I'm going to scan that thing and see if it's loaded down with Quantanium. I'm thinking it's on its way to do a bomb run or something else. So, anyways, yeah, the A2 is definitely in there as a potential cargo hauler. As far as all the ones on my list, this is probably one of the bigger outliers, but it is something that I thought I'd mention just because I've flown in one of these things. They're bristling with turrets. They had, and still 216 SCUs, nothing, nothing to sneeze at there. So moving on, we have the Carrack. I think that speaks for itself. You have 456 SCU of cargo. That's a 14-to-1 ratio. The Carrack is, just the Carrack. I mean, it's a beautiful ship. Nothing wrong with hauling Quantanium in this thing. It flies like a dream. It's, I mean, for the most part, I mean, certainly not like M2 C2 Dream, but it flies really well. It's not a bad ship to haul your Quantanium in, for sure. And of course, there's some other upside to it with some of the medical things and the things that it does. So the next ship up, and I do own this one, is the M2 Hercules Starlifter. This is going to be 522 SCU. The 522 SCU is a 16-to-1 ratio. 16-to-1, I have hauled 500 SCU one time or two times in the Starlifter, and it's, I don't know, man, it scares me. It scares me to haul a lot more than 174 SCU. It's one of those things where one glitch and you're just out, maybe a week's worth of Quantanium mining, if not more. And so, but that being said, the M2 is also a sneaky good rock hauler. It's got, it's got jump seats. It's got places to store environmental suits eventually, so you'll be able to put like Navikovs and Pembrokes. I love this ship. The M2, it flies. The Crusaders fly like awesome. And yeah, anyways, I just think this is an excellent choice for hauling refined Quantanium. So a couple more ships to talk about. Of course, the Caterpillar, very classic, 576 SCU, a great ship to haul refined Quantanium in. It speaks for itself. The Cat has got a long, illustrious history of hauling cargo in the verse, and a lot of people do love it, and I can see why. And of course, the big boy on the block is the C2 Hercules at 696 SCU. The Cat is a 17-to-1 ratio. The C2 is a 21-to-1 ratio. So you can do literally 21 prospector loads of Quantanium fit into the C2. So it's a massive ship. Once again, you're really flirting with the amount of capacity. Like, you'd never want to lose that much. I mean, I don't even know, just kind of looking down here at the calculator, I'm just going to kind of do a quick bit of math just because I'm curious. If you lost 69600 times 88, yeah, you're losing about 6 million UEC. So you don't want to do that. It's one of those things where, you can, and it really is a balancing act, right? You have to make a decision. Is one flight, where you haul it all, safer than multiple broken up flights? What's happening on the server at that time? Do you have an escort? Those types of things. So anyways, I do hope that this serves you well. I do think that every one of these ships that I listed, the Cutlass Black, the Halle, the Freelancer, the Raft, the Constellation Andromeda, the Mercury Star Runner, the Freelancer Max, the Constellation Taurus, the A2 Hercules, the Carrack, the M2 Hercules, the Caterpillar, and the C2 Hercules are all viable hauling options. I've kind of given you my my hot take on each one of them, so to speak. Maybe not so hot, lukewarm take, if you will. And really, if you want, kind of wrapping it all back up, it's the Constellation Taurus for me. It's the really one of the best balances right now between firepower, SCU. It not necessarily, being a ship that's automatically just something you're targeting for pirating. I mean, it's a little bit, but not nearly as much as, say, a Halle or a Freelancer Max. And then, just the right, extra size, bigger size shields, bigger size drive. This is the ship for me, the Constellation Taurus. This is what I traditionally recommend right now if you can afford it in game to purchase. It's 3.2 million. It's worth every penny. Anyways, that's going to be my refined Quantanium hauling video. A little different format than I normally do. Out of game, I don't normally do them this way. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you found it beneficial. Please take care of yourself, and I will see you all around the verse.